Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Outside the Echo Chamber. Here we are today, coming to you live from the Frontier Studios, HD Media Productions at our Charleston Gazette Mail building. Big shout out to the Media Center with Dan Shreve and Ethan, our producer Maria Young. We got a great show for you today. You know, election season is upon us. Less than a week, Tuesday, May 10th. Early voting has begun all around town. People are still casting their ballots. But you know what? We have a lot of exciting races today. We are going to talk about a senatorial race that has a crowded primary, but maybe got just a little less crowded because one of the candidates just yesterday got ruled ineligible. We're going to be talking to another candidate who was a former delegate who's switched parties and now running for state senate in the Republican primary. But first, we're going to talk to Martise Washington. He's running for Charleston mayor. I'm going to welcome to the show today for the first time. Martise, welcome.
What's going on, bud?
Right.
How you been?
Good to see you, man. Hey, this is your first real, dive into politics, man. Hey, I know you, and I've seen you around town. We've done a lot of stuff in the past, a lot of nonprofit work. But hey, take a moment, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and where you grew up, and about Martise.
Well, I'm Martise Washington. I'm 33 years old, born and raised in Charleston, West Virginia. Both of my parents are from here. A little bit about me: I went to Capitol High School, graduated from the best class, 06. Shout out to class 06.
Oh, there you go.
I just am a community man. I'm the guy that you see outside picking up trash. I'm the guy you see helping the homeless. I'm just your regular, average, everyday Charleston guy trying to make a difference in my city. And so I dove head first into this mayor race because Charleston didn't look like this in 2008, 2018, 2006. It's getting progressively worse. So I just feel like it's my duty as a citizen to get out and make sure that my city is the best that it can be and then make it feel like it's the capital city of Charleston. Because right now, we're like number 5 on the list of top cities in West Virginia, and we're the capital city. We're doing bad.
So I know we, on this show, we've talked to all the candidates. We've had the Lance Wolf on here. We've had the current mayor, Amy Goodwin, on here. And we had a questionnaire out there, and we talked to a lot of people, and you mentioned it here a little bit. You touched on homelessness and helping the homeless. Talk about that, and what do you see yourself as a mayor candidate? What can you do to help address that situation?
Addressing the unsheltered population is something that's dear to my heart because I was homeless, but I wasn't homeless. I had a house fire in 2017, and the amount of resources that are out here are so great, but the requirements are abysmal. You have to make a certain amount of money, this, that, and the third. It's almost harder to get help when you're homeless than it is if you're working a job. And so what my plan is to create a crisis team, a crisis unit that partners with all of these organizations that we have going on throughout the city and lead them. If we have to give them better guidelines, give them better guidelines, give them rules, regulations, so that way we're not treating the unsheltered like they're leopards. That way we're treating the unsheltered like they're humans, and they see that we're trying to get them back on their feet. It's not very hard to help the homeless. All you have to do is have a heart and the drive to do it. If that's it, they're going to resonate with you, whether they are mentally unstable, whether they're out here on drugs, doesn't matter. As long as you show up with your heart and you're not pointing a finger at them and you're treating them with dignity and respect, the homelessness problem is going to get way better.
And I know all the other candidates as well as I, and you've spoken to different functions around town. They kind of get a broad category, the description of just homeless, putting everybody into that one category of homeless, and that's not fair. You've talked about there's vagrants out there. There's homeless who are unsheltered. There's people just down on their luck, and they want a hand up, not a hand out.
Exactly.
So how is this? Tell voters a little bit about what do you think is being done now, and what else can you do differently?
I mean, we have a CARES team now. They're good, but it's not enough. We can do better. The plan is for a crisis unit to go out with police to some of these calls, because the police aren't trained, one, to deal with some of these people in their situations that they're in now. So if we have a crisis unit agent, they hear about a homeless person that may be mentally unstable, they show up with the police. So then they have resources, time, and they have the drive to help that person as to where the police can go on about his day and go on back to what he was doing. And now you have an agent or a social worker right there meeting the person where they're at, taking care of them in their crisis, getting them out of that crisis.
And you talked a little bit, I think, in your questionnaire about the low barrier shelters and housing, and you're all for that, and just finding the right location, I think, is always the issue.
You don't want to have it in a major populated area. I would put a low barrier shelter where there's already land up for sale on the east end under the Leon Sullivan Way, right there on Leon Sullivan Way, because there's room, and then you have shelters and food pantry over there.
Yeah.
So you have stuff for people that are already facing challenges right there. Why would I want to build a low barrier shelter further away from these people to get to services? You have Prestera right there around the corner. You have both shelters over there, and you have a food pantry. So if we put a low barrier shelter there, we have a police officer monitoring it daily, 24 hours, and we have social workers there, a DHHR extension there. Those people can only stay there for about 6 months, and then they're going to have to get back up on their feet because we're giving them the resources, we're giving them the chance, and we're pushing them on. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, hand up, not a handout.
A lot of people get that confused, and I don't know. I mean, you probably know better than me. You know, low barrier. You know, define low barrier means they maybe don't have an ID or they have pets. They can just come and go as
yeah,
leisure.
you
Is
can
that
come
correct?
and go as you please, but the whole purpose of getting into the low barrier system is we have a great guy named Kevin Washington who works for the city. He gets you your social security card and your birth certificate. That way you can get your ID. If you are going to go in this low barrier system, all of those things need to be taken care of within the first 5 days. You can stay here for, like I said, up to 6 months as long as you're getting on your feet. We have tons of families out here. Kids are homeless going to school. We have to do better. So by a low barrier system, I'm not saying a tent city, but we can build a metal building that won't cost the city very much. House people on cots or build separate little individual places for these people to live. Instead of having them live up under a bridge under our major highway, we can put them right there where they can obtain services and get better.
And what do you say about, and you know, you touched on it already, but you know, we have like the criminal vagrants out there. You know, people say, well, maybe we're not tough enough on them, or you see a lot of times that 80-20 rule. You know, it's the same people kind of doing this over and over again. But you mentioned mental illness. You know, how does mental illness come into play, and what, you know, treatments to getting these people back to be a productive member of society?
Like I said, first things first, you got to treat them with dignity and respect. So we start there, then we get them a therapist. Then we get them the help that they need and the medication that we need. That's why I love Health Right, because if I know you're mentally unstable, I can take you to the Health Right on the west side where you have all these services. And they'll even pick you up and
That's
take
the
you.
new Health Right,
That's
buddy,
the
right?
brand new Health Right. We fought hard to get that over there on the west side. And so when you deal with people like that and you start with their mental illness, then address the other things, and you make sure you focus on what caused them to be mentally ill, we change the narrative and we really change the city, because then we have teams of people, therapists. We're all working together to make Charleston better.
No, I think you touched on that. You know, Charleston being the capital city, we have so many services here already, and we kind of attract people in need, and I think that's always when they should. And you're trying to find balance. Hey, let's change the subject for a minute. You know,
Okay.
because you got a lot going on, and you're running. You got your shirt on here, Mayor.
You know, I stay in a
What's it
mayor
say?
shirt.
Mayor, the man, the myth, the
The legend,
right?
yes, sir.
You've talked about the need for pay raises for police, but coupled that with police reform.
Yes.
That's an interesting, you know, kind of say it in the same sense, and so sometimes that gets misconstrued out there. Talk about what you mean by more pay for police and reform.
So the police department, I've talked to Tyke several times. The police deserve to be paid more. This is the capital city. We should be leading the way in paying our police officers because they serve and protect all of us. And then police reforms, we're not going to have a Frida Gilmore situation. That's what I mean. Officers are not going to be out here using their badge to lead whatever they're doing. They're going to use their knowledge, their training to do their job. So we're going to train them on equality. We're going to train them to make sure that they are properly trained to handle any type of situation. And then we're going to back them up with the CARES team that'll be housed under the police department because, you know, the public safety budget entails so much. You know, our police officers are out here picking up needles and stuff. We gave them, you know, little containers for it. But then they didn't have tasers. Shot Denal Dickerson. You know, and then everybody's like, well, he leaped at us. Well, if there was 29 officers chasing me, I would probably feel in fear for my life, too. People don't understand that it's sometimes the way that the police address you. I mean, I've been stopped several times by the police, and I know almost all of them that are on the force. And they treat me with respect and dignity, even if I'm at a situation that's going on. Why don't they treat everybody else like that? It's because they know I'll file a complaint, and I'll get on their ass, excuse my language. But they know I will. That's just exactly what will happen. And I plan to do the same as mayor. You have to hold the police accountable, but you have to give them all the tools and the pay that they need to do a job great.
Yeah, you can't. It's one of those jobs that, you know, you can't thank them enough, and you can't pay them enough for what they have to deal with.
But we at least need to be with the national average. Our police department, I mean, they get paid well, but they don't get paid enough to do the job that they do in the capital city of the state.
They see it all here, and a lot of times they're asked to help out the surrounding cities and towns as well too, or those, you know, those people kind of come into our city and they have to deal. Hey, all right, here's your chance. All right, give your elevator speech. Because why are you the best person for the job for the next 4 years to be mayor?
I'm technically already mayor. I do the mayor's job every day. She sends people to me all the time. I say to people all the time, the reason that I chose to run for mayor is because I love my city and I'm fighting hard for my city. And the reason that people should choose me over anybody else is because you see the work that I'm doing for absolutely free. You see that my heart is in it. I'm not worried about my husband because I don't have one. I'm not worried about my wife. I'm not worried about my kids, my friends, or my family. So I'm not even a politician. So my only interest in this race is Charleston. I'm not here to put my friends in places or on committees. I'm not here to do anything outside of what my job entails, and that's being the CEO and the lead director of Charleston, making this place home, making this place attractable. You know, I want to sell Charleston to other people like they sell Myrtle Beach to everyone. We see those commercials. Why don't you see a commercial for Charleston? We don't invite our friends and family here. We tell them, let's meet us somewhere. So that's really why I should be chosen, is because my heart is in the game, not my money, not anything else. I've raised $4,000, and I thought that was too much money because we're still in a pandemic. My neighbors are struggling. How can I ask them for $1? I'm not going to celebrate raising almost $200,000 when there's people out here that are hungry. When I know my neighbors can't afford their electric bill. No, that's not how you do. That's not how you run a city.
Hey, Martise, well said. I appreciate you coming on the show. I mean, I know you got to get back out there. You got a couple of days left. You've been knocking on a lot of
5
doors.
days.
You've been meeting people, doing everything you can. Thanks for all you do to help our city move forward.
No problem.
We'll
Doug,
talk
it's
to you
always
soon.
great to see you.
Best of luck to you. Hey, everyone. That was Martise Washington running for mayor of Charleston here in the upcoming election on May 10th. We're going to take a quick break and come back when we talk to a former delegate, Mark Hunt, in his bid for the Senate District 8.
We know who we are, where we've been, where we're going. Like hospitals all over America, we are changing, redefining, restructuring ourselves to be the best community health system in the region we serve. We are 2 hospitals with more than 30 locations, 450 providers, and 1 mission: to heal. As one, we are Thomas Health, caring for our communities today and tomorrow.
A new day begins, and what happens today must be covered, reported, and passed on to everyone in the region we serve. We are journalists, staff writers, editors, storytellers. Who are we? We are HD Media, trustworthy and always here for the times we live in.
Here at Dutch Miller Jeep in South Charleston, we realize car shopping can be challenging right now. That's why we're committed to holding your hand through this process. Don't see the Jeep you're looking for on the lot? Then ask about the Dutch Miller Advantage, which means you can order the vehicle you want faster, direct from the manufacturer. It's no wonder we continue to be the #1 Jeep dealer in the state of West Virginia.
For a limited time during the Jeep Celebration event, make no payments for 90 days.
Text or chat now at DutchMillerJeep.com.
Here in West Virginia, we're known as hard workers, friendly faces, and people with a caring spirit. At Summit Community Bank, those qualities are at the core of all that we do. We're a group of experienced professional bankers that you've known for many years. We work hard to earn your business and will work even harder to help you succeed. We customize banking solutions that work for you. We're Summit Community Bank. Service beyond expectations.
Looking for a friendly bank that you can turn to in your community? Bank where the decisions on your needs are made locally. With online banking and 7 locations. Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter.
Welcome back, everyone, to Outside the Echo Chamber. Here we are, like I said before, we're right into the election season. The primaries upon us. Early voting has begun. And, you know, joining us with this segment is former delegate, colleague of mine in the House of Delegates, is Mark Hunt. Mark, welcome to the show.
Hey, Doug. Thank you for having me, man. It's a real pleasure being here.
Well, I know you're a veteran of the political scene, and, you know, you were out a few years, and now you're throwing your back in, and you're running for District 8. I mean, tell everybody a little bit about your background real quick.
Well, my last session was 2014. I served 14 years in the House, and I was pretty successful in the House. I got over 100 bills passed in my name and chaired a number of committees. Was able to get a lot of projects funded for my district. But it's time to move on and do something else. And the logical step for a member of the House of Delegates is to go to the Senate. Your vote is basically worth 3 times your vote is in the House. So that's just the next step for me, logical step, and also an opportunity for me to continue some of the work that I started and didn't get finished in the House.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now you're running for Senate. You kind of cover a larger district. I believe it's 5 counties that you're covering now for this district. So what are some of your top issues, running for Senate, and why'd you decide now is the best time to jump back in?
Well, obviously the top issue I think in West Virginia is always going to be jobs in our economy. It's a situation where we need to get a better tax base. We need to continue to build the infrastructure in West Virginia. Some of the non-sexy things like clean water and sewage, we need to do that. I mean, you get 10 miles outside of Charleston, people still running sewer into the creek. We need to correct those problems in West Virginia. Broadband, all those issues. Large companies are not going to want to move to West Virginia with bad roads and bad schools and not clean water systems and not having broadband where their employees live. So we have to correct this, kind of like Field of Dreams. Build it and they'll come.
Hey, Mark, I've served with you in the legislature as well, and at that time we were in the majority, and we were both Democrats, and you switched, and now you're running in the Republican primary.
Yes.
Talk about the driving force behind that, and why the switch to Republican, and why you're out there running as that position.
Well, Doug, as you know, I was always a moderate. I was always a moderate Democrat, and what that means is I've always supported families. I've always supported children and seniors. I've always supported our Second Amendment rights. I've always supported those types of issues. And as I've stayed in the middle, the Democrat Party has moved further left. And as the party moved further left, I didn't move with it. So the logical choice for me was to move to the Republican Party. Now, having said that, we're also running in a district that I think the consensus of the district and the voting of the district and probably what the people in the district want is probably moved more toward the right. In other words, probably is actually moved toward the Republican Party. So to properly represent those constituents, I think a person probably needs to be a Republican.
Now, you mentioned that in the Republican Party, it's grown so fast as well, too, and there's different facets within the Republican Party as well. Like
Right.
you mentioned in the Democrat side, you're far left, you're more moderate. You are now, you kind of feel like your views are more reflected in the Republican Party. But in that party, you have the far right as well, and then you have the more moderate. So where would you see yourself?
I would see myself as continuing to be a moderate. For instance, I do support our Second Amendment rights, but I also support the right of working families. So, I mean, that's kind of a dichotomy in the Republican Party.
So a lot of things have happened here in the last couple of days with your primary.
Yes.
It was kind of a crowded field, and
Yes.
we heard yesterday, we had an article in the paper today about one of the candidates. We're going to speak to her here in a moment here,
Yes.
being ruled ineligible. So it's got a little contentious out there. I mean, what do you see, and what do you see moving forward now with this primary?
Well, first of all, Doug, I've tried to run my campaign, and I've tried to stay out of those issues, whatever the 2 or 3 other issues are. I don't know much about her issue. I do know that, for instance, that there are residency requirements. I think that when you ran for the Senate a few years ago, you had to meet the residency requirements. Obviously, residency requirements are not an issue for me. I was born in the Charleston General Hospital. So, I mean, hey, I've been here all my life, and I still live here with my family and my 2 sons.
Well, Mark, hey, here's your chance now. You're running, you get the primary, you got a few days, 5 days left, you got election day, early voting has begun. Give everybody a pitch why Mark Hunt, as a Republican, is the best choice in this primary.
Well, I think if people vote for me, what they're going to get is a known quantity. I'm a moderate person. I'm going to continue to protect Second Amendment rights. I'm going to continue to do what I can to build infrastructure in West Virginia, and I'm going to continue to hit the road running. I don't need on-the-job training. I served 14 years in the House. I've been able to work across the aisle with both sides to get bills passed and projects funded. So I think if you vote for me, you're going to get a known quantity, and you're going to get someone who can get things done from the beginning and won't be a learning process.
Well, hey, Mark, there you go. You've been in politics for a while, and you took a little break, and now you're getting back in. I wish you the best of luck, and I appreciate you coming on this show. And I'm sure we'll talk to you again after the election settles down.
Thank you, Doug.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Best of luck to you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break on Outside the Echo Chamber, and when we come back, another one of those candidates for District 8 when we return, Andrea Garrett Kessling. We'll be right back.
The relationship between a lawyer and a client is based on trust. You have to make certain that the lawyer you hire has your best interest at heart. We typically meet our clients at the worst times of their lives, and it's our job to help them. Over the years, we've been entrusted with some of the biggest cases in West Virginia. That's because we have a track record of success and getting exceptional results. We built a reputation as one of the go-to law firms throughout the state of West Virginia.
Joining me, high-profile lawyer Ben Salango. Ben, it's a real honor to have you on.
In fact, many of our cases come from other lawyers. Lawyers who've worked with us, lawyers who've worked against us, and even those who've merely heard of our results. We're proud of the reputation we've earned in the community for providing exceptional, aggressive legal representation. When you hire my law firm, you don't get excuses, you get results.
People keep asking me how Todd Judy Ford has the best selection of vehicles at a time of national shortage.
The secret is our 130% of Kelly Blue Book for your trade-in.
Everyone wants to trade the car with us and get more money.
And now we're making it even better.
We will beat any other dealer's trade offer by $1,000 guaranteed.
If we can't beat it, we'll just give you the cash.
So bring in that car, upgrade your vehicle, and get top dollar for your trade-in now.
Just go to ToddJudyFord.com and see for yourself.
What started as the Parmar Oil Company in 1967 has grown into 116 convenience stores in 4 states. Parmar convenience stores offer monthly product specials and grab-and-go items. Located just down the street from where you live, Parmar stores are all about being your above-par convenience store. If you don't have a Parmar store near you now, you will soon. Parmar Convenience Stores, neighbors serving your community and making life a little bit easier every day.
Welcome back, everybody, on Outside the Echo Chamber. Well, you know, we're meeting with candidates. Election is upon us. We're here in the primary. But yesterday, Judge Duke Bloom, he ruled that one of the candidates in Senate District 8 is ineligible because of the requirements of living in the state for a certain amount of time before they vote. And that candidate we had invited on this show is Andrea Garrett Kessling. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Doug.
Hey, you're kind of, this was really your first taste of politics. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So diving right into politics, I mean, what's your take right now on this West Virginia political scene?
Yeah, well, I'm encouraged. Obviously, I'm disappointed in the outcome of yesterday's ruling, but we are taking an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court, and hopefully, I'm hopeful in a better outcome.
So were you surprised by the ruling, I guess?
I believe that the residency, there's a lot of a gray area. I've always been a citizen of West Virginia. I was born here, raised here. My family owns the oldest operational dealership in the state of West Virginia here. I was heavily involved in my community growing up. I am a West Virginian. I am confident in that.
Talk about that for a minute. So you grew up in West Virginia.
I did.
How long were you here, and where were you from?
Yeah, well, my family has been here for generations. I was born in Charleston. I was raised in Roane County. I graduated from Roane County High School. I played sports in FFA and very involved with my church. I went to West Virginia Wesleyan College, later lived in Princeton, West Virginia for a while, working for my grandfather's business there. Bought a house in Canal City. I worked for West Virginia Junior College for a while. I went away for a time, and I am back. I came back here to raise my children, to start a Christian school. I own a house and a farm here in West Virginia. My intention has always been to be here in West Virginia.
So, and then you came back and you decided to run for office and be a part. And I lived outside the state as well too.
Yeah.
And I know when I came back, and I too have 3 kids as well. But I came back and wanted to do the same. So, what are your plans moving forward? You touched on it briefly. So, what happens now? I mean, we talked about it, and we have an article in today's paper here. It just basically came out last night, I believe, last evening when they ruled it. So, what are next steps? I mean, there's 5 days before the election. So, so right here, there's an article talking about what happened yesterday. Mm-hmm. But you tell us in your own words here. Now, what's your next step as a candidate?
What's next is I am a Christian and I am a conservative, and I plan to continue to fight to protect those values. So whether that's in the Senate seat or not, that is my purpose here in West Virginia, and I will continue to do what I can to protect and preserve those values and protect my children's future and West Virginia's children's future as well.
Now, do you think the Supreme Court will hear your case, or you just don't know yet, waiting to hear about that? Is that correct?
I think they will. I hope they will, absolutely.
So you're here to stay, you want to make a difference, you want to give back to the community. That's great. So within this primary, whether you are a candidate or not, do you see yourself running again?
I see myself being very involved. Absolutely. It's a hard time to be a conservative. I mean, this is a great example of why people are afraid, like conservatives like myself, to stand up or speak up. Opposing forces are strong, and they do not want people like me to hold a seat. And so I will continue to fight for the conservative values and represent the conservative West Virginians.
Yeah, you mentioned it just right there, and I was touch on it. Sometimes when parties get bigger and they get larger, and this happened for a long time in the Democratic Party, you have different facets within the party. So within the Republican Party, I mean, do you think there's a divide, with different types of Republicans, so to speak?
I do. I see that in my opponents, for example. One of them supports the Fairness Act. I do not. Another was formerly a Democrat and voted in a moderate way. I do not. So, yes, I do see a spectrum happening within the Republican Party. And, that's a shame, because at this point it's kind of diluting the Republican values and what we stand for as Republicans.
Yeah, because for a lot of times you have, the Republicans they were excited just to have somebody on the ballot, and now we have all the contested primaries are in the Republican primary.
Yep.
And so you're starting to see the different groups. So yesterday we saw a ruling. There was actually a fourth candidate as well, too, in the primary.
Yes.
We tried to reach out to him, but he did not respond. So we were trying to give everybody a chance to come on this show.
Sure.
So realistically, though, the ballots are already out.
Yep.
People have already voted. There's going to be your name's on the ballot.
Yes.
Correct. So
yes.
I mean, you can't go back and remove that. So there's a chance. Andrea, at the end of the day, has the most votes.
Yeah, of course there's a chance. My name is on the ballot. If this was something that should have been that could have been contested, it should have been done in February. But of course, the polls aren't available in February. They're available in May, and I believe this is what prompted that. And the people of the state, their voices deserve to be heard. So if they have voted, I mean, it's a shame to disenfranchise anyone. I believe that, especially after the last presidential election, a lot of folks have lost confidence in our election process. I don't think this helps interfering with the will of the people. Well,
I know the judge, I think he ruled that the county clerks in the areas had to put a posting up or something, said that no, you're no longer eligible. But realistically, they could still vote for you if they wish.
Yes, absolutely, and I hope they do.
And then we'll see where it goes from there.
Yes, sir.
But hey, so one last chance here. So you obviously put your name on the ballot. You're back in West Virginia, raising your family here. Mm-hmm. Why are you still, at the end of the day, even though there was some argument between Republicans and a primary, at the end of the day, why are you still the best choice to be Senate if that opportunity were to come?
Yeah. I believe it's because I am uniquely qualified and motivated for this position. I have 3 children, and they are the 3 primary reasons that I'm running for this seat. The future of West Virginia, protecting conservative values, is too important. It's too important for me to back down now, so I will continue this fight.
Well, I know it's interesting. This is definitely an interesting situation. If you're not allowed, do you throw your support behind one of the other candidates, or you just stay out of the race and just go from there, or how does that work?
Will I support another candidate? Not in this particular race. Okay.
Yeah. No, I was curious. But no, listen, this is definitely a unique situation. Best of luck to you in the future. Whichever this goes, I know you're trying to appeal if they decide to hear it. If not, we hope to see you out there, running again someday and giving back to West Virginia. Yes, and don't be discouraged about your first taste in West Virginia politics.
Oh, I'm not. I am more motivated than ever to help the conservative cause.
Okay. Well, hey, Andrea, thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate you taking this time. I know this was a lot to digest in less than 24 hours. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back on Outside the Echo Chamber when we wrap up.
Here at Dutch Miller Jeep in South Charleston, we realize car shopping can be challenging right now. That's why we're committed to holding your hand through this process. Don't see the Jeep you're looking for on the lot? Then ask about the Dutch Miller Advantage, which means you can order the vehicle you want faster, direct from the manufacturer. It's no wonder we continue to be the #1 Jeep dealer in the state of West Virginia.
For a limited time during the Jeep Celebration event, make no payments for 90 days.
Text or chat now at DutchMillerJeep.com.
A new day begins, and what happens today must be covered, reported, and passed on to everyone in the region we serve. We are journalists, staff writers, editors, storytellers. Who are we? We are HD Media, trustworthy and always here for the times we live in.
Proudly advocating for workers and their families, the West Virginia AFL-CIO is a group of 600 labor organizations representing 70,000 active and 70,000 retired union members. We represent first responders, healthcare workers, educators, coal miners, construction workers, plant workers, truck drivers, grocery store clerks, and every job in between. We believe every worker has the right to fair wages, good benefits, and a safe workplace. That's what the West Virginia AFL-CIO fights for every day.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to Outside the Echo Chamber. That does it for this week's edition. I tell you what, election season is well underway. It's primary here, May 10th. Early voting has begun. Big thanks to all of our guests today. You know, we heard from mayoral candidate for Charleston, Martez Washington, of why he's the best choice for mayor. We got to hear from Lance Wolf and Amy Schuler-Goodwin in the previous sessions. We also got to hear from candidates for Senate in District 8. We got to hear from Mark Hunt, former Democrat, now Republican, running in the Senate primary. And also here, you just heard right here, my guest was Andrea Garrett Kiesling. She has not given up the fight, you know, like you said, you heard from her, the ruling yesterday, and the judge struck down his ruling, but she's still on the ballot, and we'll see where it goes from here. Once again, everyone, my name is Doug Scaff. It was a pleasure being your host. Remember, send us your comments, send us your feedback. Tell us what issues that you want to hear as we take a deeper dive into all that's happening. Right there's our email up on the screen, outside the echo chamber at hdmediallc.com. Feel free to shoot me a personal email as well, dougscaff at hdmediallc.com. But we're here serving you, the people of Charleston, the greater Kanawha Valley, and all of West Virginia. Don't forget, catch out all our archived episodes on charlestongazettemail.com, heralddispatch.com. Have a great day, West Virginia, and don't forget, exercise your right to vote.